Baseball fans, you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Really do appreciate it. While you're here, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on with the Atlanta Braves. And speaking of keeping up with the Braves, I don't think anyone's able to do it this week. There has been so many headlines, so many trades, so many players non-tendered. It's been kind of crazy to keep up with. That's why we've waited to this point to do a video, because I wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be something that followed the video I was currently making. And I think we're safe right now. I still think the Braves are active. I still think they may go do something today, potentially. If that happens, we'll be right back here to make another video. But for now, I think we're good. We're going to just talk about what's happened this week, talk about the players that we've traded, talk about the players that we traded for, and potentially what the Braves may do in the future. And it's been, again, very busy. The Braves have been very active. It started on Thursday night when we learned that Michael Soroka, Jared Schuster, Nicky Lopez, Braden Shoemake, and minor league pitcher Riley Gowans would be traded to the Chicago White Sox for lefty reliever Aaron Bummer. We've already done a video on that. We thought that might be the only trade for a while, and boy, were we wrong. But we already went in depth on that. We did a video on it, and it was pretty interesting. It was a polarizing trade. A lot of Braves fans were upset on how much name value we lost. I mean, we lost a fan favorite, Michael Soroka. You trade away a former first-round pick in Jared Schuster. It just seemed like a lot to give up for a guy who last year had north of a 6 ERA in Chicago for Aaron Bummer. We went into depth about it, not going to rehash it here, but if you want to see that video, I really suggest you go watch it and learn about Aaron Bummer, why we think Aaron Bummer could do very well in a Braves uniform, and I still believe that. But that was only the start. The next day, we learned that Wright would be traded to the Kansas City Royals. This caught a lot of people off guard as well, because Wright, has been a staple in Atlanta. We've seen him develop. We've seen him become the pitcher he was always supposed to. He was a 20-game winner back in 2022, and the guy's been great up until he got hurt this season. So it was kind of a surprise. The Braves traded him for Jackson Kowar, and I guess I need to kind of go in depth on it here. This surprised a lot of people for a lot of reasons. It didn't, on paper, seem like this was worth it, because Kyle Wright versus Jackson Kowar just next to each other don't seem equal. But you have to take into consideration that Kyle Wright is out for the 2024 season. He is hurt. He is done. He will not pitch in 2024. And he's a free agent in 2025. On the contrary, Jackson Kowar is a guy who hasn't found his footing in Major League Baseball. He is a reliever, no doubt about it. But he is not a guy who has necessarily found his footing. This, to me, was kind of an equal trade, because Jackson Kowar wasn't giving the Royals a lot of what he was supposed to when they drafted him in the first round, and Kyle Wright couldn't contribute with the Braves and won't contribute with the Royals. All the Royals are getting out of Kyle Wright is the potential to have him beyond 2025, or beyond 2024. So the way I look at this, first I feel like I need to give you an introduction to Jackson Kowar. Who is this guy? Well, he's a former star with the Florida Gators. He was a first-round pick. He was a top prospect. He's got one minor league option left. High-velocity guy, averages 97 mile per hour. That's an uptick since 2021, since he moved to the bullpen. But his fastball doesn't have a lot of movement. He hasn't found his footing again in the major leagues, but the Braves may see something they like. And before you say, oh, well, they're just going to try to fix him, he's a project, that's what we got for Kyle Wright, before you say that, keep in mind the Braves were able to take Pierce Johnson from a 6 ERA to a sub-1 ERA. I always use that example, but there's numerous examples of that, not just with the Braves, but with a lot of teams. Change of scenery is a real thing, and I think it could very well help Jackson Kowar. We'll see. But it was kind of tough to really analyze that one, because that one was immediately followed with the news that the Braves traded Nick Anderson to the Royals as well for cash considerations. Basically, the Braves were just opening up a roster spot. And I thought that was pretty interesting. They got some money back, but It's basically the Braves opened up a roster spot. That's what they were going for. That news was immediately followed with another headline that the Braves had non-tendered a bunch of players, including Chadwick Tromp, Michael Tonkin, Colby Allard, Penn Murphy, and minor league third baseman Luke Williams. So the Braves have been busy, no doubt about it. They've opened up 10 roster spots on the 40-man, and you might be sitting there wondering, well, why would they do that? You only do that for one reason and one reason only. I think the Braves are about to go after something bigger than what I originally thought they would. And a lot of people are going to take what I just said and say, oh, he thinks they're going to get Shohei Ohtani. We've gone in depth about Shohei Ohtani. I don't think the Braves are going after Shohei Ohtani. You don't open up 10 spots on your roster to get one player. I don't think that's what this means at all. And if that does happen, which I think is very unlikely, if that does happen, this to me doesn't affect that. What I do think it affects is the bullpen. I think that your bullpen very well may get shaken up here because that's who you lost. I mean, you lost a lot of your guys who were either in your bullpen, competing for your bullpen, or, just didn't quite make it as a starter, were kind of in no man's land. And you still have some of those left, and we'll talk about that in a second when we look at the roster. But overall, you lost 7 pitchers, and you lost 3 position players. So if you go by that logic, you need to replace about 7 pitchers and about 3 position players, potentially. The Braves can do whatever they want, but that's the way this kind of melted down. The way things are going, this could potentially change at any given moment, but a lot of familiar faces are there. The guys that you would expect to be there are there. The guys that were kind of on the fringe, your Waskari Noahs of the world, your Ian Anderson, Dylan Dodds, those guys are still there, but no doubt a lot of names that were lost, including but not limited to, once again, Michael Soroka, Colby Allard, Yanni Chirinos, Angel Perdomo, Nick Anderson, Nicky Lopez, Braden Shoemake, Chadwick Tromp, Michael Tonkin, Colin McHugh, and more. So the Braves have really done quite a bit of just emptying the roster, cleaning house, I think, to prepare for a completely new way of thinking, way of going about this. And they got rid of a lot of guys that aren't going to benefit them in the future, right? No disrespect to anybody that I just mentioned, but Yanni Chirinos, for example, was not a guy that they were necessarily counting on to carry them for years to come. I think the Braves might change that by getting some guys who could either, 1, help them win now, which some of these guys weren't going to do that, or 2, could also help them win in the future. I think they're going to go sign at least 1 starting pitcher. And I have been the guy over the years to tell you that I don't think the Braves are going after starting pitching. Not this year. And there's reasons for that. When you look at the way the Braves team right now shakes out, Charlie Morton, number 1, will likely or could potentially retire at the end of this season, right? He's only signed to the end of this year. They picked up his option. This could be his swan song. I think he's going to go out guns a-blazing. I don't think that's a bad thing per se, but I'm just saying I think it very well could be the end of the road for Charlie Morton, at least in a Braves uniform, potentially in his career. Max Fried is also a free agent in 2025. You have to take that into consideration. You have to look at that and say, okay, well, the Braves could be down Charlie Morton and Max Fried at the end of this season, which if you look at what they have in starting, that would leave them with next to nothing, because potentially if Charlie Morton and Max Fried were to leave, you would only have Strider and Elder guaranteed to be in your starting rotation. At this point, you could have had Kyle Wright, but he wasn't guaranteed to be here at the end of the season either. So the Braves see a problem here. They got to address it prior to, they don't need to procrastinate, I guess is what I'm saying. And you could point to the guys that they have in the minor leagues, your A.J. Smith-Shawvers, your Darius Vines, even Alan Winans, maybe Ian Anderson, Dylan Dodd, Waskari Noah. There's guys that have been there trying to compete, but you have to also address the fact that, number 1, A.J. Smith-Shawver, Darius Vines, they're not guarantees. They are great talents. I think specifically A.J. Smith-Shawver has a very bright future, and Darius Vines as well. But beyond that, those guys are a step down. And A.J. Smith-Shawver and Darius Vines and Alan Winans all have to grow into whatever they're going to be. And the Braves are not at the point where they were in 2018 2018, 2019, where they can afford to wait on guys to grow. They're in the win now mode, right? They won over 100 games this year. So you look at that is an issue that is coming sooner rather than later, and they have to address it. So I think the Braves, based on what we've seen, here lately, I think the Braves are going after pitching, and I think they're going to go after pitching hard. Before today, Aaron Nola was available. The Braves were potentially interested in signing Aaron Nola. I think they're interested in signing Sonny Gray as well. Those are the free agents that they've been linked to. There's more out there. Of course, everybody's going to talk about Shohei Ohtani and whether or not he's going to end up in Atlanta. It's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is a possibility. Other starting pitchers that are available, this is not guys that I am throwing out there. These are just free agents. You have some guys that are available. Michael Wacha. I mean, you can go and pick who you want to. Those are the guys that are out there. I think the Braves are going to go after two. You might be wondering, well, Tyler, how's that going to shake out? You only got one spot in your starting rotation for 2024. Well, hear me out. Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Charlie Morton, right now to me, are your only guarantees. I would say Bryce Elder, but Bryce Elder had a great first half in 2023, not a great second half. I think you could push Bryce Elder to that depth piece, to that sixth man on the rotation to come in when need be, which he was in 2022 primarily, and he had a lot of success with it. Granted, he was an all-star in 2023 as well. I think you push him back to there, that only adds depth. You can never have enough pitching. I think you add two there. You can you sign him to however long you want to. If you want to extend Max Fried, I'm not against that as well. I've wanted that to happen for quite some time. But I think the Braves really may go after two here, because if they're going to lose Max Fried and Charlie Morton next year, they might need to prepare for that. If they can sign Max Fried beyond this year, maybe they only get one. But I think they may really go after two. In terms of the bullpen, I think that's really where this gets interesting. I think you're going to target bullpen hard as well, because I thought last year the bullpen was our weakness. I really did. It certainly wasn't our offense. I thought our starters did good enough, especially considering you didn't have Kyle Wright, you didn't have Max Fried for a large part of the year. I think the Braves will operate primarily in the free agency department just because they don't have a ton to trade for. Before all these trades were made, they were ranked 28th in the farm system rankings. They don't have a ton of prospects to really put out there. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Braves particularly want to put a lot of their trade pieces in the trade market. They want their farm system to get back, to some sort of relevancy so it can feed into the major league product. And I think that gets kind of washed over sometimes. But that's kind of the way I view it. You could potentially see them go, if they're going to go for a trade, I think it'll be for a starter. We'll see what happens with Sonny Gray. We'll see what happens with any of the other free agents for starters. The Brewers' Corbin Burns, that one intrigues me because I think you could get him for less than what you could if he was on another team, because the Brewers, they want to trade him before he's not worth anything potentially. That does intrigue me, but again, once you get to 2025, you're back in that same part of you got to negotiate. If you can trade for Corbin Burns and land him, then maybe you see a Sean Murphy incident where, as before he lands in Atlanta, he's signed to an extension. That could happen as well. So there's a lot of ways this could shake out. I certainly don't want to pretend like I know what's going to happen, because I don't. But given the fact that there are 10 open spots on the roster, given the fact that the Braves have been busy, they have already been trading more than any other team in the game right now, I think you can expect something big is coming. Something is cooking in Atlanta. That's where I see this going. But look, that's where I'm going to leave it. I think there's certainly more to come. All we can do right now is wait. And we'll certainly be back on here to address it when something does happen. But for now, do me a favor. Like this video if you like the Atlanta Braves and you like talking about the Braves. Comment down below. Who do you want the Braves to go get? Let me know. If it's Shohei Ohtani, it's Shohei Ohtani. But give me some oddballs. Give me some guys out there. Maybe I'll explore it and talk about it in the next video. Also, do me the favor. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell for notifications so that you know when we drop something, when we go live. Whenever we do anything, you'll know it if you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, Make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.